Do you think alpha females exist? Let me ask you that question.
I think they do, but it's different from emancipated women or feminists.
Yeah. So here's my perspective on that. Like, I'll hear a lot of women say, well, I'm an alpha female. And it's like, no, you're not. You're just a disagreeable boss bitch. You don't want to conform to the frame of a man. So you basically describe yourself as a man. And then when men don't want to accommodate you or to be with you, then you complain that they aren't big enough or substantial enough for you, sort of thing. I don't really think that alpha females exist. I think if you look at history and female leadership when it had existed, it's very rare. And even in circumstances where, like, you can take a character like Cleopatra, for example, even in circumstances where there might have been strong female leadership, it was always eventually replaced by stronger male leadership. So I don't buy the idea that there's alpha females. I mean, I asked you that question because I just wanted to see, where your head was at with the notion that there can be alpha females. They're really just terrible versions of men, is what it boils down to. They're these boss girls that kind of have an attitude about men can't tell me what to do. So to your question about being submissive, I think is what you're asking. I mean, yeah, the last thing a top shelf man wants is to go out in the world during the day, put out fires, solve problems, make money, network with influential people, compete, to come home to arguments, disagreements, fighting. I think that, typically, traditionally, a top shelf man wants, and a lot of women don't like the word submissive, but I think that a top shelf man wants a woman that is useful to his life and will submit to his frame. The problem is not a lot of men know how to do that properly. So I hear a lot of women ask the question, well, how do I find an alpha male, sort of thing, or they might challenge you on certain notions and frame that an alpha male might set. And they're like, well, I'm not going to do that, or that's not about me. And it's like, well, you want an alpha male, but you're unwilling or unable to do what it takes to attract and retain that guy. And you wonder why they never choose you, sort of thing, right? Like, it's an interesting question. If you watch the Ladies Night podcast and you sort of, get into quite a few of them, you'll see this this reoccurring theme. I mean, if I were to estimate, I would say something like 80 to 90% of women that we've had on the Ladies Night podcast are absolutely incapable of entering the frame of a top shelf man. They just don't want to, right? Like, they want to be an equal partner. They use words like partner often, which I think is an atrocious word that should be removed from the English vocabulary when it comes to describing one's boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife, right? Partner suggests that you're equals, and you're not. Men and women are very different. So I think that if women are serious about attracting and retaining an alpha male, they have to start doing the things that an alpha male is interested in to invite her into his life and want to keep inviting her into his life into perpetuity, to want to keep seeing her, sort of thing. They don't want another version of themselves. Men don't want to date men. I mean, straight men don't want to date men anyway, right? And I think even in gay relationships, you notice that there's always like a dominant figure, right? Like, with lesbians, there's usually a dominant figure. Even with homosexual men, there's usually like a dominant figure as well. So I think this is in human nature.
Yeah, okay, one clarification. I think of alpha women more in the context of social and professional context. And alpha women in relationships, I'd rather define them more women who are more into their masculine energy. We human beings, we have masculine and feminine energy, no matter the gender. So sure. Some people are more in their masculine, some people are more in their feminine, and more masculine women tend to attract more feminine guys because these guys lack this masculine energy and they receive it from her. They just get from the woman, the masculine woman, what they cannot allow themselves to be.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
There's imbalance in both of them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think a lot of women that will call themselves alpha male end up with suboptimal type of relationships. They usually end up with a guy that's not a leader, that's not strong, that doesn't know how to stand up to them, that they want to see as an equal partner. And that's not what women want, right? Like they won't satisfy their hypergamous nature if they look across at a guy. They have to be able to look up at a guy. And you're fundamentally, as a woman, if you're going to identify as an alpha male, you're fundamentally going to end up in the vast majority of cases looking either at an equal or down at a guy. And this notion that toxic feminism has taught women to be alpha males or call themselves alpha males or I'm an alpha male or whatever. It's like, that's not working. That experiment clearly isn't working because women aren't getting their best options. What they're getting is usually somebody that they have to settle for, that they're not, they don't adore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And women well, they say they want freedom, but actually I think women actually want, they want the frame, the men provides, and they want some boundaries, even if they don't admit it.
That has said that they want a high value man, an alpha man, a top shelf man, whatever descriptive term that they want, when you tell them what's required to attract and retain that guy, they don't want to do that, which is so bizarre to me, because it's like, if a woman's applying for a job, she's going to take the prerequisites, she's going to take the courses, she'll get the designation, she'll dress pleasantly for the interview, she'll behave well in the interview, very cordially, very polite. So women are very interested in getting jobs and doing the right things that allow them to get the jobs, but for some reason they're unwilling to do that for the top shelf men that they want to attract and retain, which is so bizarre. And then usually the argument that they'll make is, well, I shouldn't be having to do anything for a man, or I'm not going to bend the knee to a man, sort of thing. It's like, but you'll bend the knee to your employer, who's probably a man, that's going to tell you what to do anyway and take taxes off your paycheck. Like, how is that better? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's because they are lazy, because they need to change something in themselves and make an effort. And it's a constant effort. It's one thing to be from 9 to 5, making an effort professionally, and then all the rest of the time, with no day off, you have to make an effort for your partner. Okay, no, not a partner.
Yeah, and by the way, Galina, like, this also means that for the amount of women that are successful, have degrees, are making their own money, they have their own house, they have their own car, blah blah blah. There's more and more of them today than in any other time in history. I'm sure it's even true in Eastern Europe, where you live, sort of thing. But there's fewer and fewer men that meet the prerequisites that women are demanding of these guys, because they're softer, they're more agreeable, they've been told to become less so women can become more. They walk around calling themselves male feminists. They're unwilling to set boundaries or say no, or they're just too kind or nice or pushover, sort of thing. So a lot of the demands that women are making of men today, there's a smaller and smaller pool of men that are available to fit those requirements, which is interesting too in itself, because then it forces this pool of women to make compromises and concessions that they don't normally want to make, i.e. dating down, i.e. potentially sharing a top shelf alpha male with other women. Like a number of these concessions that end up happening, it's like, we're kind of in a weird place, aren't we? Right? Society's kind of going in a weird direction, isn't it?
Yes, and I think it's because of this abundance and such an easy access to this pool of men and women in dating apps.
Yeah,
it's just easier to slide yes or no than make an effort and try to keep the person you're with.
Yeah, that's what the problem is.
It's easier to start over.
It's very, very easy for women and high value men, but more so even average women have optionality that most men don't enjoy. It's only guys on the top shelf that enjoy the same level of optionality. If it's not something that they like, they just, we'll just keep swiping.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here, where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the courses tab. Newer to the channel, hit subscribe.